Good evening. My name is Donna Williams with Voice to Change, and I'm here with Caleb Guevara, who is the winner of our Young Composers competition. So good evening, Caleb.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, hon. All right, Caleb, could you please tell us how you got to this place? That's where I'm most curious about. How did you get involved with composing and part of the Young Composers competition with voices?
That's kind of a loaded question.
Take your time.
Into composing, music has always been, a part of my life growing up. I was always interested in instruments, singing, rhythm, all that kind of stuff. And when I finally got into middle school, I had the opportunity to really start engaging with music. And from there, I learned oboe, guitar, bass, mallet percussion, a lot of fancy stuff, and it all kind of correlated to me wanting to actually write music. And in terms of getting to Voices with Change, they actually, I believe it was Dr. Elias, the professor here at SFA, contacted the Voices of Change about doing sort of like, I guess, partnership with us, for lack of better words.
Yes.
Right? We would write pieces, right, and they would play them for us, and they got to choose out of said pieces which they did a professional recording of. But because of COVID, that didn't happen. It had to have been postponed, which was very unfortunate because a lot of us were looking forward to it.
We were too.
I'm sorry?
We were too. We were looking forward to it. We've been talking about it for months, and then cataclysm.
In terms of competition, I believe Dr. Elias, he sends out all of these competition emails to us to like get us like, hey, enter this, enter this, enter this.
Mm-hmm.
I entered this one, and lo and behold, I was chosen.
Tell us about your piece for those of us who are not familiar with it.
So it's called Cyclical Dreamers. It's for solo violin and cello. The idea behind it sort of came from, I was on my guitar trying to come up with an idea for this piece, and I played that opening line, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I was like, all right, let's see what I can do with that. And from there, I decided that with two instruments, that line kind of goes in a little hill like that and kind of circles around. So the idea came to me, kind of making them sound like they're chasing each other.
Yes.
Which I really enjoyed throughout the process. And my professor who was helping me, Mr. Coe, was saying, hey, it'd be great for this, really cool counterpoint. So I was like, hey, that's a good idea. So I went and really delved into a counterpoint for this piece and kind of made it one of the center points of it.
I'm sure your professors probably talked to you about how much of a historical thing that idea of the catch and the idea of chasing when you have like a musical motive, what a tie to history that kind of idea is. What are some other composers that, besides yourself, what are some composers whose work you really enjoy?
Biggest one, without a doubt, Igor Stravinsky. I mean, when I heard The Rite of Spring for the first time, that was like, this is awesome. I want to do like this, And to this day, it's like one of my favorite pieces. So Igor Stravinsky, Bela Bartok, more modern composers. I know this may be controversial, but I like the ideas of John Cage, the sort of philosophical ideas he had going on with music. I enjoy those. In terms of more of like non-contemporary classical music, I listen to a lot of like heavy metal and rock. That is definitely another influence as well.
Yeah. Because I work with kids, I'm often telling people, don't be ashamed of your influences. Don't feel like this is not a good enough influence because it did what it did to you to get you to something else.
Right.
And so it's not like this part we pretend, if we take that away, we may not have gotten what we got. Particularly metal. I find when I am around people who are very into metal, there's certain composers and certain ideas of the more traditional European art music that they gravitate to. And so you're mentioning Stravinsky and Bartok, which is more the Hungarian and the Russian school, but still that same idea of the counterpoint and the way you treat harmony and everything. Anything particular about the way you like to handle harmony and rhythms? What do you say?
So when it comes to melody and harmony, I have a form of synesthesia called chromesthesia,
Ooh,
where I
awesome.
associate, different notes with colors.
Mhm.
And so that really influences how I use harmony. And when I'm essentially painting with notes in my head,
Mhm.
so I'm very particular with the intervals that I choose and how they the motion in between them, especially in a duet like this. And rhythm, it's kind of the same thing. It's a very intuitive thing for me. I'm also very particular with that. I have to have it on the specific beat, and if it's not, it's like it needs to be there.
Do you sense rhythm the same way you sense pitch? Do you find with the
Uh,
way your mind works?
no, I don't see color when I see rhythm. But rhythm, I feel it just like internally very well,
Hmm.
and I use a lot of my inner ear to figure that stuff out as well.
Yeah, I asked about the synesthesia because I've known, for as rare as it is in the general population, I've known at least 3 people who've had it, and it's still they'll put it under that umbrella, but it's it seems to me to be a very individual experience.
Yeah,
Seeing the
uh,
color, but doesn't mean anybody's seeing the same colors or anything. Yeah.
correct. For me, the note A is red, but for
Hmm.
someone else, it could be uh, purple or maroon.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So for people who aren't familiar, I think it's an interesting insight in the way that humans create and how
Yeah.
you perceive and how your output from that. So thank you for sharing about that. That's something I've talked to my students about. So one more person who's talked about it to give them that insight. Um, I'm reading a little bit about your piece. That's where my eyes keep going over here.
Okay.
This piece is meant to capture 2 people asleep, chasing each other in their dreams. Would you like to expand on that a little, please?
So going back to what I said earlier, the two instruments of the line is kind of a chasing line,
Hmm.
and the whole dream aspect. I'm a very vivid dreamer. I remember them very well. And to a certain extent, I can kind of control what happens in my dreams.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of very in tune with that part of my mind, my subconscious. Um, and when I was writing the piece, it almost kept picturing like they were trying to go after each other, but were like moving through different landscapes.
Okay.
And that's something you really see in a dream. You go from one place to another, not really knowing how you got there, but you're there and you're going.
And it's one movement, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Now, with you personally, how did you get to SFA? Um, where did you go to school? You think?
I went to school in Houston, sort of the Cypress area,
Hmm.
and my best friend, his sister actually came here first. She was a year older than us, and told me about it. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'll check it out. And so I came here. I did the audition with Dr. Elias, and I was like, I'm really feeling this place.
Hmm.
The music school here is like top notch with a lot of stuff. The composition program is very prestigious. I mean, you have to have good grades. You have to be more than on top of the ball with everything. You have to just get going. You have to want it. If not, you're gonna fall behind. And that's something I really liked about this program here, and the diversity of what they teach. Here, I was able to do not only, or I was able to learn how to write for like contemporary ensembles, orchestras, bands, smaller ensembles. We got to write for films. We collaborated with the film school here and scored some of their movies. I
Excellent.
took classes on scoring video games, and this past semester, I was part of a team that scored an actual video game. So this program has allowed me to branch out into a lot of different avenues.
Okay. And can you talk about SFA? For those who don't know what SFA is, talk about that.
It is in the middle of East Texas. It's in Nacogdoches.
And give them the names because not everybody not everybody knows what SFA is.
SFA stands for Stephen F. Austin State University. SFA is huge. Yeah. In the heart of East Texas, surrounded by a lot of piney woods. I mean, you go outside and there's just trees everywhere. It's gorgeous. A lot of wildlife. You know, you'll see squirrels and cats and little bunnies going throughout campus and whatnot. It itself has gone through a lot of what's it called? I guess upgrades. They've been doing a lot of like major add-ons to buildings and the pavement and whatnot to make it look even nicer than it already is. It's in between a small and a large university, right? So it kind of feels like, to me, it kind of felt like a home. You know, it wasn't so big that I would get lost going to class, but it wasn't so small that I would know everybody like I did back in high school. No, it was a good stepping stone from high school to kind of venture out into adult life per se.
Yes.
So
and what year are you now? What year are you?
I'm a senior. This is my last semester.
Very good. What are your plans for after this semester?
I'm going to go back to Houston. I have a couple of opportunities lined up there at a Pace School of Rock. I've been talking to a couple of people there about being a private instructor for guitar and composition, and trying to get my music out there as much as I can, reaching out to game developers, independent filmmakers, and see if I can collaborate and making music for them as well.
Okay. How does your family feel about your composing and your composition success?
Oh, they're my mom and my stepdad absolutely adore it. My mom is all over this. I mean, she was part of like the main influence of what got me into music, always supportive of introducing us to different music and whatnot and being supportive of that. So I guess in her mind, her seeing me do this as like a professional is like,
well. Is she a musician, or how does she come to that?
She sang in the church choir when she was a kid. Her dad, my grandpa, is a guitar player and also a singer. His brothers, they all play musical instruments as well. So she was always surrounded by music when she was, I guess, my age.
So she decided, to do the same for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that were your mom's favorite and your stepdad's favorite music? And did that seep into you at all?
At the beginning, yeah, my mom was really into a lot of jazz, Christian and gospel music. My stepdad really likes film scores. Kind of influenced that as well. The whole rock and heavy metal stuff I kind of got into on my own. But the whole jazz aspect from my mom and the films from my stepdad definitely did influence me.
Yeah. Who are some of the composers, like the jazz musicians or the film composers that you were steeped in, we'll say?
Film composers, and again, this may be a bit controversial, but oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Guy who did Star Wars.
John Williams.
Yes, John Williams, Hans Zimmer. I absolutely love their music.
And with Hans Zimmer coming out of the rock background as well.
Yeah, of course. For jazz, oh man, I'm totally blanking on the names. I know big band composers like Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis.
Yes, that's like the bebop period.
Yeah,
big band would be like Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Benny Goodman.
I'm blanking on a lot of the names right now. I've had a long day.
Yes, I am sure. I'm surprised I'm doing as well as I'm doing remembering names. Yeah, no worry. Who's your favorite? Give me your two favorite metal bands.
Right now, Dream Theater and Periphery.
And with Dream Theater, you're getting those big sounds. So you see the connection between the Dream Theater and Stravinsky. I can't
100%.
hear them.
John Petrucci, the man when it comes to guitar playing.
Yes. I used to be a DJ, so there's like all these things that are talk about being steep. So
Yeah, I could go into a huge spill on all of the metal bands that I listen to and my favorite stuff about them and whatnot.
yes. Mhm. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Uh, I am so very excited to hear this performance. This is going along with my senior recital that I'm having to do for my last semester here. So I'm having, to get more of my music played, and I just got some of my music, like a rehearsals. I had people to record and send it back to me, and it's such a great feeling to hear it outside of the MIDI that's
Mm-hmm.
on notation programs and hear actual performers play your music. It's ear opening.
Mm-hmm.
You really hear how the harmonies stick together through like the reverb of the room and different timbres of voices and instruments. It's great. So I'm so excited to hear this out in a grand hall and hear all of that get put together.
Excellent.
The date, March, I believe the 7th.
Yes.
It's going to be live stream, correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to share that. I hope everyone enjoys my piece. If anyone wishes to contact me afterwards for any questions, I'm always open to conversation. I love talking about music in any way, form, or fashion. You can reach me at my email, caleb.guevara@att.net.
Okay.
Again, very open conversation.
Very, very good. It was really nice to talk to you, Caleb, if I don't hear from you again. All right.
All right.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Have a good night.
You too.